Joining us is the man of the night, and that's former Cardinals manager Tony La Russa. And first and foremost, Tony, congratulations on what is a terrific night for you and your family, obviously. But that's not good news to see there with Yadier Molina, is it?
Well, I said at the beginning, the priority is the game tonight. That's why the fans are here. And when something as key as Yadi is not right and he wasn't right, and we're all concerned.
Well, you get a chance now. You see number 10 out there plainly in the grass. You see number 10 on the wall in your picture. What's going through your mind right now?
Well, it's overwhelming, Dan. I just can't thank Bill DeWitt and the owners and the organization for making this happen, and then the response of the people from the past to show up tonight. It's an overwhelming experience, and I tried to say that I don't take it personally. It has to do with the organization and the fans. Fans, hoping they look out there, they think about themselves.
You know, I wanted to bring that up with you, too, about your relationship with the fans as you get a look at Mr. Happy Flight, Rafael Fraccal. But in talking with you last week, you and I were visiting about your relationship with the fans, and it wasn't easy early on when you got to St. Louis, and I know you wanted to say goodbye to the fans in your own way, and yet you had a good problem because your team didn't lose, so you never had a chance to do that properly. But you got the fan base listening tonight. What would you like to say to them?
Well, I hope that, I'd like to listen to my comments, see if it came out right. But there is a very special connection that the players feel when you get the kind of support. I mean, here I heard that 13 out of 16 years, over 3 million people. And there are people that really care about these guys on and off the field. The guys feel that, and that adds some adrenaline. That adds to the motivation to play well. So whatever we've done good, the fans should feel like they share in it, and hopefully when they see the 10 out there, it's all about them.
You see there, guys like Gibson and Brock and Mr. Buck and some of the greatest names that have ever played Major League Baseball, much less here in St. Louis. There's a liner in right, but the catch sliding by Hayward. And you're out there, Tony. Can you put that in perspective, what that means for you to see those names and all of a sudden you're right by some of the greatest ever?
Honestly, when I think about that, I don't want to be out there. I mean, I think this game is about great players that should get the credit, and you have the wonderful person like Jack, owner like Gussie Busch. But when you put it in those terms, I would just assume they take it down because I don't feel personal about it. But I do think we did have a terrific run here, and everybody contributed is part of that.
I know you felt, as you get a look at John Jay, the second place hitter, you felt Jack Buck and Mike Shannon were very important for you early on in trying to connect with the fan base.
Well, when I came down, it was things were a little bit strange with the Cardinals, and Whitey had left in '90 because he didn't feel like he connected. Then, in the years that Joe was here, it wasn't just the typical everything out on the field. There was always some kind of distraction or issues, and we had to fight through that. And I know the fans had a tough time figuring out whether I was an American League manager that shouldn't be here. And I do believe that early on, with the believability, the credibility that those two men had, they figured out that I was okay, and they told people, and I know I got a benefit of the doubt because of them.
You're on the field tonight. How much do you miss it?
I miss when I said the relationships. I mean, I said that in the press room. The relationships, seeing Judy, CJ, Joe, all the people around the Cardinal organization that make it special to be here. I miss that. I miss the players, just messing with them, just like the time we've had with these guys here, kidding, Welsh and Stewart and Seaver. I mean, it's neat. I do not. I left at the right time. I don't need to be back in the dugout. I'd like to do something else.
1 ball and 2 strikes here on John Jay. And that's a base hit out to left. Nice piece of hitting for John Jay. Let's take a look at the lineups and the defense. We'll start for Mike Matheny's club. Fraccal, Jay, and Holiday, Beltran, Craig, Molina, Carpenter, Green, and Garcia. Defense around the horn is brought to you by Dobbs, Prado, Bourne, and Hayward in right. We saw him on that sliding catch. Chipper Jones, Pasternicki, Ugla, and Freeman along the infield behind the plate. Very good one, Brian McCann, and that's brought to you by Dobbs. Our guest is Tony La Russa. Moments ago, if you missed it, number officially retired by the St. Louis Cardinals, number 10. And here is Matt Holliday, Cardinal left fielder with 6 home runs and 22 driven in. There's Tom Seaver and the Duncan family, Brian Jordan there as well. Let's talk a little bit about your cohort for 29 years there, Dave Duncan. What did he mean to you?
He is so good, so great, and I thought every year he was better than the year before. And he does the #1 thing that coaches need to do, and that is he absolutely was there for the players. The players knew it. There wasn't anything about him that he wanted to advertise or gain any kind of notoriety. And that's part of his greatness, is that players knew that he was there to help them.
1 ball, 1 strike here on Matt Holliday. Long look by Minor. Big rip by Matt. As you compare 2006 to 2011 and the 2 championship teams that you had that won the World Series, what stands out about each of those teams?
Good question, Dan, because they were different. The 2006 team had veterans that were hurt in the second half. We got ahead, and we had to have a guy like Chris Duncan hit 20 home runs. We never get in. The team last year, I think, was one of the great examples that I've been around of just will to win and character. Really worked hard to have a roster full of guys that cared, and they just would not be defeated by the adversity. One thing we had in common was that we had a young bullpen that ended up winning the World Series in 06, and a young bullpen that won in 11. And that is a tough way to win, and you got to give special credit to those young pitchers that stepped up.
Remember reading in 3 Nights in August, your book, you talked about Mike Matheny, his relationship with his wife, hand in hand, walking away one night. Tell me your thoughts on Mike now leading this club and being what really is the face of the franchise now.
Well, he had great leadership qualities when he was a player. He was part of how we get this thing going in the right direction once he got here in 2000. The only thing about Mike that I think that he's got to be careful about is he's very conscientious, and that's one thing I talked to him about. I would never leave the game at home at the park, and it was very difficult for my wife and children. It was very stupid on my part, and he would take a lot of responsibility. He called a great pitch like the slider, and the guy who hung the slider, was his fault for calling it. And I think as a manager, you just got to be sure that he cuts himself some slack, and as long as he's doing his best, he's got plenty to do it with.
And Mike was one of those guys that was so conscientious, both at the plate, behind the plate. And we just showed a few moments ago about a suicide squeeze with Mike Matheny. And knowing you, Tony, you probably remember that against the Atlanta Braves and Bobby Cox. It was 8 years ago, but I bet you can recall it.
I can recall it, and I never liked putting it on, because when you put a squeeze on with a position player, you're telling that that he thinks it's because you don't think he can hit. And actually what you're trying to say is I have so much confidence in the pitcher, and you're trying to even the matchup up.
There's a strikeout, but I know, Tony, you've got a busy night. You got a lot of guests. We're going to let you go over on the radio side, too. Congratulations. Hall of Fame is the next step.
Thank you, Dan.
You bet.